Madam President. So I'm going to actually follow my advice, which was, I'm not going to make this thing political because everything that was said about Wedgeworth is just simply untrue, right? To inflate the cost by 50%. But I don't want to talk about that. But here's what I will say is that I find it very interesting that somebody could actually prejudge what FCMAT's going to do, right? Because there's absolutely no expertise behind that, right? And I also would put myself into that boat. I don't have the expertise to make that also. But to prejudge that they're going to do nothing is just absolutely not borne out by the facts and the reason why FCMAT exists, right? So don't agree with that. The other thing is that if you do have concerns, then write them down and give it to FCMAT. All right. That way they know what you're saying, right? And then they can make a determination whether or not it rises to the level of probable cause, right? If in fact, let's look at this thing really in a sober way. If there is that level of fraud, not only would that be disastrous to the school district, and I'm saying if, all right, I'm going to say that again, but you're talking about criminal charges that should be brought by the LA District Attorney's Office, right? So what I'm saying, and also to correct the record, nobody is saying that nothing illegal has gone on. What we are saying very carefully is we haven't seen any evidence that anything illegal is going on. All right. So let's understand that, right? Now, if FCMAT can come in and they do something, right, and they uncover something, or they think that something like this may go on, then let them go ahead and do it, right? I would have no problem with that, and I will say that right now. The other thing is that I'm completely against some sort of community audit. All right, that's just a recipe for really not a very good exercise on this thing. It would just cause all sorts of issues regarding that, right? I also will say this: the deepest audit that I'm aware of. All right, again, I'm not an expert on this. I'm an expert in other areas, not this. The deepest audit that I'm aware of is a forensic audit. And we did a forensic audit. Madam President alluded to it before, right? Which was performed by, as Mr. Dilatorino, because I wasn't even on the board at that time. But it was performed by E.D. Bailey. I've read this audit. This audit is, the thickness, I think, is in inches, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. But a forensic audit is very, very detailed, because I've been involved with forensic audits before, and I've actually qualified experts for that. But just to give an idea, when you do a forensic audit, not only do you look at everything, but you actually look all the way through the underlying financial transaction. So you have to match it up with bank records. So this is very serious, a forensic audit. This district went through a forensic audit, right? As far as I know, right? I understand that. So let's not prejudge or tell FCMAT what to do, right? Let's allow them to go ahead and do it. You can raise your issues. Anybody can raise their issues with FCMAT. And then let's see what they have to say. They're the subject matter experts here. Once we see that, then we can decide our next move, right? But let them do their job. I've already gone so far as to say, you know what? I'm okay. Let's do the financial health risk analysis, and then we'll go from there. Thank you very much. I yield back.
You said that you agree, like, let's go ahead and do the FCMAT. Let's go ahead and let them do it. There's nothing to hide. But then you're saying, oh, no, let's not do the FCMAT. Let's do the FHRA. Those are two different things. Okay. And so I'm advocating for the FCMAT. Okay. Because when I believe there is corrupt politicians on this board, I believe there's historically been corrupt politicians on this board. And so some of those politicians, they approved a non-voter bond. Some of you might not realize what that is. That's a really big deal. Okay, because the non-voter bonds come at higher interest rates that nobody would do. And so whoever voted on that put our district in a horrible position that not an average person would do that. Okay, another red flag. And so if we have an FHRA, they're not going to go into these in-depth concerns. The FCMAT audit will. And then once we approve the FCMAT, then I could send them an email with all the concerns that they can investigate. But if we go any other route, it's not going to happen. Ms. Loera?
Okay, I think you're, with all due respect, you're a little confused about FCMAT. FCMAT stands for Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team. That team does different functions. One is fiscal health monitoring, management assistance, emergency intervention, software and tools, things like fiscal health risk analysis that we just talked about, professional development, audit, and like the extraordinary investigations. So FCMAT does it. FCMAT is just the team that does all this. There's the extraordinary audit, which has to do it with different things like with allegations and with proof of fraud. That is an extraordinary audit that FCMAT does, the team does. The team also does an FHRA. And so we are asking FCMAT to come and do an FHRA because right now, I don't see any proof of any allegations of with tangible proof of anything to trigger an extraordinary audit. So we are asking FCMAT to, at least some of us are asking for FCMAT to come in to do an FHRA, not an extraordinary audit. So I think you're kind of confused with that. So we are asking FCMAT to come in and do an FHRA. However, I'm not okay with an extraordinary audit because there's no tangible proof right now.
And thank you. So when you say we're requesting a FHRA, you're assuming that that's the direction we're going. So we're discussing what direction we're going right now, just to clarify for you. And so proof of fraud, Dr. Jimenez, do we have to have proof of fraud to request a FCMAT audit? Proof.
Well, you can request it as a board. as
Do we
Mr.
have to have
Richard mentioned.
proof of fraud? Very specific question.
That would be your decision.
No, we don't have to have proof of fraud. Okay, that's the answer. Thank you, Ms. Quinones.
I just need some clarification. I read their website and I came up with real positive things like what they do is identify, prevent, and resolve financial, operational, and data management challenges, helps avert fiscal crisis, on and on. There was a lot of positives. So my question is, if we request this audit, does it hurt us in any way? If they don't find anything, it doesn't hurt us. If they find something, then of course we're going to be hurt. So if we have nothing to fear, why would we not want this audit? Can you answer that for us, Manusha or Dr. Jimenez?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Quinones, for that question. Yes, there is a caution for the board if you choose to go down this road.